Okay, you did it again, guys. Now, each and every one of you is a big ball of freaking awesome. Okay, I asked you to request an artist to push an artist, and you do it. We have another Discover artist that is joining the ranks of Ven Ray, Widow 7, Worldwide Panic, Shark Island, about 11 others, man. Magdalene Rose is going to the charts with a new tune. Now, back in April, I played your song "Shark Spray" on our Discover segment, and now it's only a short 5 months later, and you are going to the charts. I was so pumped to see Magdalene Rose on my ads priorities for the SMR charts. Let's introduce you, Magdalene Rose, aka Maggie. How are you on this fine Monday?
I'm doing good. Thank you for having me. I'm excited.
Well, thank you for being on Real Rock Nights. This is awesome, man. And it really I'm always pumped to see that we grab these artists and then the artists just propel themselves with
Mhm.
like not only their talent and stuff, but then the help of the fans.
Yeah.
Because the fans do and can do so much. I don't think they understand their power.
Mhm.
We have so much to talk about. First off, I want to say, congratulations are in order. I went to your link tree and I saw that I didn't know. I knew that you and Blaze were together, but
Mhm.
I didn't know that you were getting married. That is
Yeah.
freaking awesome.
Yeah, we
Uh,
just got engaged before the last little tour that we just did. So
so that was when you did. For people listening and watching, Blaze Rojas, and from 7 Day Slumber, he's the drummer. He and Maggie got married. What was it? The sixth, seventh?
so we got engaged the 7th, but we'll be
Oh,
getting
you
married.
got engaged, but the marriage isn't okay.
Yeah.
Okay, now
We're
I
still
understand.
trying to figure out. We just put the engagement date on there because we're like, we have no idea. We got tours that we're playing. And we still have to wait and figure out when we got to do it in between that.
We got life to do, man. Uh, okay, let's start with a little bit of background. Where are you from, Maggie?
I am from Jacksonville, Florida.
Jacksonville, Florida.
Mhm.
What kind of? Let's go back a little bit. I like to give people a kind of a background on the artist. Let's go back a little bit to let's say what do you like when you were like 10 years old?
I was and I still am a very big like book nerd, and
Okay.
so I grew up just reading books all the time. I was my dad wanted boys at first, but he got all girls, and so he realized that girls can do the same thing that guys can do. So we all grew up playing video games with my dad. We were always outside with him, and just running around like doing literally like nonsense outside as children do.
So, so would you call yourself a tomboy?
I definitely probably would say like yeah, we grew up pretty tomboyish. But our dad was also like he's like, oh, I didn't realize this like having a girl thing would be really cool. Like he would play Barbies with us too at the same time, and he would like do our hair and help us figure out how to paint our nails and stuff. So it was really just the best of both worlds, and we didn't really know that there was anything different. Like we just were like, oh, we can do what boys do and we can do what girls do. This is pretty cool.
So past the you mentioned like some of the things that like you did with your dad, like the playing Barbies and stuff like that. But like what did you do when you were with your friends? What was one of your favorite things to do?
So I actually grew up in a pretty strict household, and so when we were at school, like we would have our friends there, but I wasn't really allowed to go to people's houses and stuff just because of instances my parents had experienced at a young age, and they were really, protective over me and my sisters. And so we became like the closest of friends with my sisters and my cousins. Like it was family was everything to us because that was all we had.
Okay.
And it's weird because some people grow up and they're like, oh yeah, like my siblings are so annoying, but like my only friends are my siblings, and so we had that bond and that friendship that went past being just sisters. And so that kind of developed. We played a lot of music together. We were in bands together for a very long time. And so it was really cool just to be able to play music together, but then also just, oh, let's just go watch a movie. Like, we're kids. Like, we can just go watch a movie. Like, there's no responsibility.
Go chill. What are you and your sister still really, really close?
Yeah, it's since we don't tour together anymore, we're having to kind of learn what that new normal is, where I'm on the road and they're not on the road anymore.
Okay.
So now we're learning how to do phone calls and how to do FaceTimes and how to schedule that in. It's like, oh wait, okay, I can't like just call you right before I'm gonna go on stage because maybe service isn't good. I gotta figure out this whole like FaceTime thing, which we never had to do because we were always with each other. So we're learning a lot of that. We keep in contact with like social media too. Like sometimes if we can't call that day, like we're sending memes back and forth to each other, which is something that we never like did because we were always with each other. Where we would just be like, "Oh, look, I just saw something funny," and show them. And you realize you can't really do
Yeah.
that anymore if I'm not in the same room with them or even in the same state as them. So we're learning how to kind of get that closeness electronically, which is a little strange. It's been weird having to figure that out with like your family, because it's something I never had to do, but it's been fun because we're learning, you know, even more about ourselves and, you know, finding even more ways that we can keep in contact.
Okay. And you speak being together all the time. You're speaking of GSM, right? The band you were in with your sisters.
Yes, yeah.
And how exactly did GSM come about?
So we all grew up doing music lessons. Our parents wanted us to try them out for a couple years and then, you know, told us if we hated it we could stop, but you know, just try it out, give us something extra to do. And you know, all of us ended up kind of really being drawn to music, and we all ended up finding different instruments that we liked more. And my dad realized that, you know, maybe we could do a band type thing. And, you know, it started as just playing cover songs for the family in the living room. And then, you know, we started writing originals and started playing shows outside of the house. And, you know, at first they were just school talent shows or the summer camp talent show. But then, you know, we started playing like open mic nights and, you know, a band that we had seen in concert before would invite us to their local show to open the show. And, you know, it just kind of snowballed from there. And we realized how much fun it was to play shows and how much fun it was to play your own music and not have to cover someone else's music. And it really grew with us, because, you know, I was 11 when we first played shows and stuff. And my youngest sister was 7 and my older sister was 12, I think. And so
Okay.
we just grew up doing that. The music grew with us, the band grew with us, and, you know, even the fans, they grew up with us. And, you know, as we started getting older, you know, the fan base started to expand a little bit more. And so it was really cool just to kind of watch it grow as like we were growing up too. It matured as we matured. And so that was a cool process to see.
Do you think that sort of set you up for the solo thing? Was the solo career thing ever in your mind? Was that ever
Definitely not. I
no?
never thought that I would be doing a solo project. Like, I never wanted to be like in the spotlight. Like with GFM, it was all 3 sisters were like the main piece. Like, you couldn't have the band without one of us. And that was how I liked it. I was like, oh, okay, like it's shared between people, but now it's like, oh, like I am the face of this. This is not something that I ever wanted to do. But you know, I'm trying to listen to God and do what he's calling me to do. And, you know, I feel like I've been given a talent and I don't want to waste that. And I feel like my time in music isn't done yet. And so, you know, I was just talking with people that I grew up playing music together, and they were like, I mean, that's kind of the next step you take if they want to take a break from music, you know, if you are the only one left that is a solo project. I was like,
Yeah.
great, that's cool.
Just continue on with if you love it, you know, don't
Mm-hmm.
stop. Do it until like you can't do it anymore.
Yeah.
Let's talk about Shark Spray a little bit because like I said, this was the first song that I played on here. You know, I wanted people to discover. When it was, I can't remember. I was trying to remember who sent it to me, and I cannot remember. Somebody sent it to me in my email. I believe it came from a record rep somewhere, and I heard it, and I was like, "Damn!" It's like this sounds like, because I thought you were new. I didn't know you had been in the music business for a long time until about a week ago when I was talking to my contact over at SMR, and I listened to it and I was like, wow, like this is okay. This might be something. And put in Discover, and we got crazy good feedback on it. What kind of things did you hear about Shark Spray?
It was just really surprising because I was scared because I was like, I don't know if people are gonna want to listen to just me. Like it was a package deal, and I've never done anything on my own before, and just the support and love we received from the song was just really surreal to me. And I was like, oh my, like people like this? That's so cool.
Okay.
I didn't know.
Okay, wait a minute. You do know you're good, right?
It's something scary if you've never done like something on your own, though. It's like, okay, I think it's good, but I don't know if people will like it outside of like a group thing.
But people did grab onto it right away. And
Yeah.
what about the whole span of your music? I hear so many different influences in stuff you do. What would you say is one of the main things you want to get across in your music? Like whether it be like a certain influence, a certain person in your life, anything like that. What pushes you?
We've really been diving into finding my voice with these songs, and a lot of times we felt like maybe I hid behind just screaming, or I would be scared of the screaming, so I would do just the singing. And so we've been trying to dive into bands like Stan Atlantic or Spirit Box, who they have that aggression, but it's their voice. They're not scared to let you know what they're thinking. And so in this next chapter of my musical life, we wanted to make sure that I was unapologetically myself, and this is the real raw Maggie. And I'm singing things, we're writing things that are like catered to my voice now, and making sure that these songs are in my key that I can sing the best in. And so my singing comes across as powerful, and I can add the screaming in now, and I'm learning how to do different screams and the blez and all the different types of things that I was scared to do at first because I didn't want to hurt my voice. And now I have a cushion to fall back on. Like if something doesn't sound good, they're like, oh, okay, that's whatever. Let's do something else. It's fine. And I didn't know that if I failed at something that it would be okay. And so now I'm not scared to just say what's on my mind. We're telling messages of things that I experienced growing up, of other people's stories that I thought originally were maybe too traumatic to talk about. But these people's stories need to be heard, and I want to spread awareness about issues that listeners have gone through, that they've come to me with, and they've given me permission to speak about. And I want to spread that awareness. We just recently finished writing a song about sex trafficking and missing children, and we want that song to be out there. We want people to know that this is a real problem, and that I at least hear your stories. I hear you, and I'm here for you, and I want to help in any way that I can. And I was always hesitant because we grew up doing this, and so we didn't know like what songs are too touchy, what topics are too like, oh, let's not talk about that. That's a little weird. But now it's at a point where it's like, like this is my platform, and I'm gonna say what I feel needs to be said, regardless of if people get uncomfortable or not. Like, this is what needs to be said. This is the truth. This is what's happening. And these are people's stories, and they need help. And, I want to be able to help people with my music, and I want to be able to give people their voices back, because I feel like music has done that for me. And, that's just something, especially with what we've been writing currently, that's the big push behind it.
Okay. And with that being said, that you want to help people, and you want people to get these messages from your songs. You want to put this stuff out there. And this, uh, can you pinpoint any one situation where maybe you were at a show and somebody came up and gave you a realization? You're like, wow, my music really is helping people.
Yeah, there's definitely been several times, it's hard to hear when people come up and say, that they were going to take their life, but the music saved their life. And, those stories are really hard to hear because it sucks seeing a person so hurt and so broken that they feel like their life is not worth living anymore. And I'm honored that my music has been an outlet for them. And I always try to remind them that they were the one who made the decision to stay, and they are the strong ones. And my music was just part of the catalyst. And I'm so honored to be part of that. But they are the strong ones. I'm not saving anybody. I don't have the power to save anybody. And I just try to remind them how strong they are, and, how much of a privilege it is to hear those stories. And, I've kept in contact with a lot of those people, and it's really cool just to see
That's
them
cool.
just flourish and grow. Like, one of the people that I kept in contact with, he's getting married, and he got a promotion at a job. He's it's super cool. Like, I keep
So he went from a really, really low point in his life, and now all of a sudden promotion at the job and getting married. And
yeah, it's been several years of a process, so it's not like this happened like a few months ago and this happened. It's been several years.
Yeah. No, I understand, but it's just wild to think of, he was at such a low point. He's thinking about throwing all that away. And now, I wonder what he thinks of. Well, hell, maybe he's told you what he thinks about, like, now, he's just like, wow, I could have just thrown that all away. I wouldn't have.
Yeah, it's such a cool experience. And just there's been several stories like that. And, just being able to watch these people grow and just, fill out their full potential. And it's like, oh, that's so cool. Like, I'm so glad I got to be part of that.
That's that just opens. I call the whole rock and roll thing and metal thing a family. I tell my listeners that all the time. It's like this is a family. You go to enough shows and that stuff. It's like you are. Like you're just saying, you keep in touch with these people, and that stuff does happen. So it's almost like you're going to a family reunion after a while.
And it really, especially like the festivals and stuff, because everybody flies in from everywhere. It's so cool. It's like, what are you doing here?
The first time I took one of my employees to a festival to help me with some stuff, he was so blown away because we're standing in the media tent, and I have all these artists coming up and we're hugging and laughing and stuff. It's like, what is going on? Then I introduce him, and he's like, oh my God, that person just hugged me. Oh my God, I can't believe it. I'm not gonna take a shower. Yeah. Dude, take a pill, man. Settle down. Yeah. The last thing, let's finish up with Shark Spray here. Blaze and Weston from Seventh Day Slumber actually helped you write this song, didn't they?
They did, yeah.
Now, what were they integral in on this song? If they weren't there, how would this song have been different?
I don't know if this song would have been written if they weren't there. They were a very big, support system for me. I didn't want to write music when we wrote this, and I didn't think that I could. I didn't feel like I had anything to say, and I was just transitioning from being in GFM to being on my own and doing solo music, and I was scared. I was grieving, a loss of a project that we had been working on, and I was learning a new normal, and I felt overwhelmed. I felt like I didn't, really have a voice, and I didn't want to say anything to the world at that point. And, they kept it very supportive and very much like, okay, like, let's just listen to this. And if you don't want to do it, like, we won't do it. And they kept it at my pace, and, asked me what I wanted a song to sound like if I was like, hypothetically, if I wrote a song, like, what would it sound like? And you know, it was just little descriptions that I gave, and was like, well, like, I really like the Warped Tour music, and I never got to experience Warped Tour, and so I think it would be cool if we wrote a song that was kind of nostalgic of that era, and you know, the music sounded like that, and they were like, okay, well, let me just think of something real quick. Like, they would have an idea. They're like, what do you think of this idea? I was like, yeah, I think that's cool.
So
And then,
is that
like,
why it sounds like that? I'm sorry for interrupting. Is that why it sounds like that at the beginning?
definitely.
The beginning part, because that's what grabbed me. I was like, I felt like it was like actually where I was going. I was like, man, I feel like I'm at Lollapalooza in '94.
Right, yeah.
You know, okay.
It's like I feel like music so much now, especially, is very much like, it's so produced and it's so industrialized, and I was like, I just want something that feels nostalgic. Like, I don't want to sound like the future of music. I just want something that sounds like, oh, like, I remember going back to festivals when I was a teenager. I was like, I never got to do that, and I want something to kind of live out that moment. And so they were just, they helped me do that, and it really was like, we would go in for like 30 minutes and they would show me an idea, and I would say, oh yeah, that's cool, and then they're like, okay, well, we don't have to do anything else. And it took a lot longer than, you know, songwriting normally takes, but it was kind of a healing and a learning process, and I had to relearn how to write music because, you know, I didn't know how to do it by myself. And
Okay.
I had my sisters there always in every writing session, and we were bouncing ideas off of each other, and I was like, I don't know how to do that with people that aren't related to me. Like, how do I do that? Like, and so it was definitely just, you know, they had great ideas, but it also, their support of me as a person was so integral to that first writing process and everything that went into it. And you know, a lot of these songs that we're writing, if they are personal stories, they take forever when it comes to like writing lyrics and stuff. But it's because I'm still learning how to describe things that I want to say, and I want to make sure that I am conveying everything like the exact right way that it needs to be. I want to do these songs justice, and you know, I'm having to learn how to do that still with people that, you know, aren't related to me, or people that I we just finished up song number 5, and you know, those are the only songs I've ever written with Weston and Blaze, and it's, I'm still learning, but they're coming a lot faster now because we're getting into a groove. It's like, okay, well, this is how we write
going. Okay.
And but it definitely was just having them be there to support me and my ideas. And you know, I would just send them voice memos sometimes. I was like, what do you think of this? And I would be so nervous to send them because I was like, what if they don't like it? Like, they're gonna think that it sucks. And they're like, oh yeah, we can totally use this. And so it's been cool to learn how to be creative with people outside of my comfort zone. And I think that's really pushed me as a musician, pushed me as just a person in general. But yeah, it's crazy that the song almost wasn't written, and Magdalene Rose almost just wasn't a thing because I didn't want to do anything like that at the moment.
This okay, yeah. I think it's kind of funny. You're so you're really, really good at what you do, but you're so apprehensive to do anything. That's what I'm getting from you. Like, you're like, no, it's not gonna be good enough. I don't want to do it. No, it's not gonna be good enough. But then you do.
It's scary.
It's freaking cool. Let's move on to A Bad Residential, the brand new tune. Now, it's further up on the charts than I normally get guests. I normally get my guests when they're in the 30s because I do the real rock nights is the top 20 SMR songs. But I have such a good feeling about this. You're at 58 right now. Yeah. I get a feeling that you are going to be probably pushed in the high 40s by next week, and probably into the 30s after that, and then bang, you're going to be on the top. A bad residential. Now, Spencer Chamberlain. I want to know, how did you guys hook up? How did that happen?
Um, so I'm currently working with Rockfist Records, and all of them are basically like my second family, and so it's not like I go into these record label meetings and they're like, okay, this is what you need to do. It's like we're just in the living room and they're like, hey, you got any ideas? And I was like, I really want to do a feature on this song, and they're like, well, just who do you want to do it with? And I was like, um, I don't know. So I was like, I just went back through my playlist that I listened to, especially growing up, bands that I listened to, my bucket list bands I would always want to be on a song. I was like, I never thought that they were within reach. And I was like, you know what? I'm just going to throw a crazy one out there. I was like, what about Under Oath? And they're like, we'll see if we can make it happen. And they just reached out and they're like, yeah, we'll do a song with you. And I was like, what? And I was like, I'm not gonna believe it till like I literally have the song in my hands though. Like I'm very skeptical of anything. And we were both on tour, on separate tours at the time of writing it. And so, we were getting my vocals comped and mixed, and then Spencer literally recorded the song while he was on tour and sent it to us. And he was like, hey, here's my raw vocals, if you want to comp them or figure out which takes you want, and then you can send it to the guy to mix them. And I was like, no, he didn't send those. Like, there's not gonna be anything in there. And then
This is not happening.
Yeah. They opened the folder and I was like, that's Spencer Chamberlain singing my song. That is so weird. And but yeah, it's really just crazy how it happened. They just answered an email, literally just the simplest sending an email, and they listened to the song, they really liked the song. And just the whole time it was hard to believe that it was happening, and I literally didn't believe that it was going to work out until I had his vocals like in the Dropbox folder, and I was like, all right, I guess this is happening. This is pretty cool. Like, I don't even know what to do with this information.
Wow. And it was just as simple as, well, who do you want to be on? And then you went through your playlist.
Yeah.
It's like,
And
let's see.
Like, what's time for them?
I like that guy. What the hell?
Yeah.
That's awesome. Now, that was you had to do that like in a virtual setting, through Dropbox and all stuff. Mm-hmm. So are you guys going to be able to get together to do a video for this soon?
I would absolutely love that. That would take this to like even a further level. I've never met Spencer before, and I listened to the band growing up, and so like I don't know. I feel like most of the time I'm never starstruck because I grew up doing this, and it's like, okay, I understand that musicians are just people, like these are my peers. But I've also never worked with somebody on a caliber like that. And so I don't know what I would do if we ended up making a video with them. Our touring schedules are both pretty extensive till the end of the year. So I'm not sure like how we would even make it happen, because we're both just playing shows literally all the time. But it would be such a cool experience. We had to reach back out to their camp. I don't know if we've even discussed doing that. We were all just kind of on a high, like realizing that the song was coming out and it was actually released with them and stuff. So it's something that we still gonna be like, oh wait, like, hey, we never did anything like that before.
Well, I guess you could green screen it too.
That's true.
Because now thinking about it, there were, I think, 3 or 4 like acts that I work with that did green screen stuff over COVID. So
okay. Yeah.
Where like, one person is like staring at like a teddy bear and a stick or whatever.
Yeah.
On a green screen. And then, but okay. But definitely gonna watch for something like that to come out. When you have these, you said that you've been doing this so long, you don't typically get starstruck, but you do have those people, don't you?
I think it would definitely be like, I would just not know what to do in that moment, because it would be hard to believe that they were standing in front of me, or like even this, like I didn't believe that he was actually going to do the song until I had the files in my hands. And so I don't know, like I feel like I would just be like frozen. I was like, wouldn't know what to do.
It's like, oh my god, oh my god. Juliet Lewis is the one that did it for me. It's like
Okay.
typically, yeah, I don't, but
Mhm.
I I opened the door to the studio and she's standing in the studio and I'm like, oh, this is like Ashley Griswold from A
Yeah.
Christmas Vacation. Oh my God, this is, it's all this stuff
Yeah.
is going through my head. And all I could think of was, wow.
Yeah.
She looked at me, she's like, excuse me.
Yeah.
But okay, now this song, A Bad Residential, uh explain a little bit about like where this came from.
Yeah. So with all the process of, transitioning into a solo project, there were a lot of fears that I had, a lot of, you know, having to relearn how to do things on my own because we were such a tight knit unit, not only as like a band, but as a family, and touring. And, we were all we had because we were so busy. You didn't have time for making friends and other people because we were touring, we were writing music, and, being pulled out of an atmosphere like that was so strange for me, and it was really difficult for me at first. And I was plagued by nightmares because I had a lot of fears that I had buried, and I just didn't want to talk about it because I was like, oh, like I'm not scared of that, like what do you mean? And there's a lot of like unconscious fears that I had, and because I kind of buried them while I was awake, they would come back while I was sleeping. And I had night terrors for probably 6 months and didn't really sleep for 6 months.
Oh
And
wow.
yeah, it was a pretty bad thing. Like we were on tour, and I couldn't sleep for like 6 whole months. I would get maybe an hour or two, and then I'd be up because I would be too scared to go back to my bunk and go to sleep. And nobody knew because I didn't want them to be like, oh, well, we're on tour with some crazy girl, like why is she on the bus, we need to kick her off. And but being able to open up and talk about that, you know with the people that I was on, I've been on tour with Seventh Day Slumber pretty much this entire year, and learning how to trust them with vulnerable information. And I grew up touring with them. They took us on our first tours and stuff. And but it's another level to share the darkest secrets that you have. And so that was scary, being able to just tell them like, hey, like I don't really know what's happening, but like this is scary for me. And they were there for me through the whole process, giving me suggestions of like, well, have you tried this, have you tried this? And we were at a show, and it was still being a problem like continuously. And one of the fans that was kind of the first show that they got to come to, they were fans of GFM, but they didn't get to see a show until they came to a Magdalene Rose concert. And I had kept in contact with her for a little bit, and she was one of the first people outside of the bus that I like just told what was happening. Nobody knew what was going on here, because you go out and you play a show and you're like, hey, what's up? Like, I'm
Yeah.
just bigger than my person. There's nothing wrong with me. And I opened up to her about it, and she prayed over me, and that was the first night that I was able to sleep through the night. And ever since then, like I haven't had any night terrors. Like they've just were gone immediately. And so it's just really about that process of just being so terrified of what you see in your sleep, and and then realizing you have to deal with sleep deprivation and feeling like you're going crazy during the day because you're paranoid because you don't know like what's real and what's not. And it was really strange, and it was a very difficult season for me to go through. But once I found that healing, and I was healed, and I overcame that, I was like, it just made me stronger. And I never thought that I would be able to make it through something like that. The whole time I felt like I was just crawling my way through life. I was just existing. I wasn't living. I was just kind of numb through the whole thing, and either numb or scared. And but making it through that, it's made me so much more powerful, so much more proud of myself. And I've realized that I can overcome things, and I've realized the strength that I do have, that I was like, I didn't know that was in me. I thought I was gonna die. Like, and it's crazy to see that strength come out of you, especially in your weakest moments. You know, that's when your body and your mind kind of decides whether it's a break or make moment. And I'm just glad that my mind and my body continued to fight. And you know, I wanted to write it for people that have experienced night terrors, for people who have PTSD, and you might not have flashbacks, but you have night terrors, and those are terrible and awful things to experience. And I just wanted them to be encouraged to continue fighting. That there's, you know, I understand what you're going through, and but it's so worth it to continue to fight and to keep pushing. And you know, one day that those aren't going to affect you anymore, and it's worth it to keep pushing through, because life is so beautiful. And you know, I would just the things that kept me going were holding on to the good memories of the day, holding on to the people that cared about me, that supported me. And you know, maybe it was just they gave me hope for an hour, and that was an hour that I needed to get through that day. And so it's just a song about that whole process. And I wanted to be honest, because you know, a lot of times it's easy to write music and be this bigger than life person, but I wanted people to know, like, this is real, this is who I actually am. And you know, I'm not this perfect person. I go through struggles, I go through really dark things, but I'm still fighting through them. And you know, I've overcome them, or I'm still working on overcoming them. But if I can do it, then you can definitely do it.
Okay. It's I guess what I think is so cool, and you said in there few different times actually, is the human spirit is a really big thing, and you really can, you're a hell of a lot stronger than you think you are.
Yeah.
And actually, yeah, I'm glad you said that, because like people need to know that, man. It's like when like I'm on here, like every person I call a big ball of awesome, because everybody is.
Yeah.
Every single person has this ball of awesomeness inside them. And that ball of awesomeness can grow and push you through things that you can't even believe you can get through. So this is awesome that you are putting that out there, and you're actually getting that across to people. What are we looking at for tours and live shows? Let's go. We're late 2023 now, so 2024. When can people like come to a Magdalene Rose show? When can people see you?
Yeah, so we're touring through the end of 2023. You know, I'm with Seventh Day a lot. We're going on a tour with Fozzy again in the fall. And then, you know, we're working on trying to get some travel, like international type travel. We're working on that, maybe seeing what happens there. But for 2024, we're looking and projecting a huge year. You know, we're wanting to be on tour just as much as we were this year. And you know, we want to do the international tours. We want to do the full US tours. We want to be everywhere. And you know, we want to do that on a bigger scale. And so we're definitely working on trying to get in contact with, you know, some of you guys' favorite bands, so we can be on tour with them, even if it's just for a 20-minute opening set. You know, I want to be there with people who want to hear me, but on a bigger scale. You know, I want to introduce myself to people who have never heard my name before, and that's what we're trying to do. That's what we're projecting for 2024, and we're working hard to make that become a reality.
So are you the type of musician that it sounds to me like you are, but I feel I have to ask this, that wants to hang out with their fans after the show, wants to like meet and greet, you know, kiss hands, shake babies, so to speak?
Yeah, for sure. I always try to come out to the table you know, after we play. And you know, sometimes I'm able to come out even before the show, if you know, security reasons, and if they let me come out before we play and stuff. But I always try to be at the table as much as possible. I want to meet everyone. You know, I'm actually my own merch person right now, for the most part. So I'm
Oh, wow.
selling merch.
Who's at the table when you're on stage?
Thankfully, the tour manager for Sunday Slumber, who is also the lead singer's wife, she has become, well, in more ways than one, she's become a second mother to me.
Okay.
But she usually helps out a lot at the table, and every once in a while there'll be volunteers at the shows who are there specifically to run merch. But a lot of times I'm slinging t-shirts after I play the show still, and but I love it. I love talking to people. I love just getting that extra moment to just hang out, and sometimes it gives people a chance where they would be too scared to talk to you, like if you were just standing at the table. But it's like, oh, they're taking, they're making merch sales, like I'll go say hi because I want a t-shirt. And
okay, how many times have you freaked people out when they came up to buy a shirt or something? You like have your back to them and then turn around, can I help you?
Yeah, there's been a few times where they're like, oh, it's you. Like, that's me. But it's always funny. Usually it ends up with all of us laughing. They're like, I was just so surprised.
Website officialmagdalenrose.com. And actually, now people are spelling it two different ways. And Megan and I talked about this at the beginning of the show. And actually, it's spelled Lene, the Magdalene. So, but people are spelling Magdalene. And like Maggie said, it rolls off the tongue easier if it's Magdalene, but it's spelled Magdalene, okay? Lene. And make sure that you spell that right. Go to the website, officialmagdalenerose.com, or you have an awesome link tree that, oh my God, Facebook, TikTok, Instagram, you're on everything. And then you have links there to your video and a link to something very, very special that I thought was cool as hell. And that is why I congratulated you at the beginning of the show. That is her wedding registry. So you want to help, and you guys want to build a house.
We're trying to. It might be a slow going process. It might be like, oh, we'll start in an apartment, but eventually we want to work towards building a home.
Work towards it and save up, and that's awesome. But what's your dream house, Maggie? What's it?
I would love like one of those big like libraries with the ladders that like roll across it and stuff. I would love one of those, but we also want like a home studio because that would make things a lot easier.
Yeah.
Just to have that right there. It's like, oh, I have an idea. I'll just go downstairs and record it really quick. Just a lot of cool things. I feel like I'm a very old soul. Like I'm not super into a lot of like these crazy modern like architecture and stuff like that. It's like, I just want it to be cozy. Like I want it to look like it came out of a Disney movie, like an old cottage or something, but like still have stuff where it's like, okay, I'm still in 2023. Like I need my like first world problem solutions and stuff.
So with the big library that you're talking about, it's like you are such a big book person. Do you have any other hobbies that would, like, what if you could have a Maggie room that wasn't a library, what would it be?
There would probably be all of like my gaming systems and stuff. I have like all the consoles, but now I got a laptop because my little sister, she plays PC games, and so I got a laptop so I can play those games with her. So it'll probably be built out for like video games and just watching like anime and stuff like that. So it's the complete opposite, but I just do both.
Oh, and one other thing I wanted to talk to you about was, and I said GSM earlier, Global Satellite Management. I don't know if that's what GSM stands for. I don't know why that was in my head, but GFM, you guys are endorsed by a Japanese candy company.
Yeah, so we used to be a part of their affiliated group, and so we would get sent boxes of their like they're called Tokyo Treat boxes, and so like you would open it up and they would have like different Japanese drinks, different Japanese candy, different Japanese like chips or any type of like snack food and stuff like that. And we would just open it on like our YouTube channel and be like, this is what we got this month. And it was honestly so cool. I love all like the Japanese snacks and stuff. And all of the different like Asian markets and stuff were so far away from our house, because we did have a little subsection in Jacksonville. You know, I was blessed to live in such a diverse city that had little bits of culture everywhere. But it was so far away from our house that we couldn't make the trip every week to go restock on snacks. And so it was nice, like once a month, to get a box and be like, oh, what snacks do I got this week?
Get your like lychee candy and stuff like that. How did that come about?
It was definitely just, you know, we grew up with the mindset of the worst somebody can say is no, and we saw other people doing it, and we got sent, like one of our fans sent us the box because they knew how much, you know, all of us liked the Japanese candies and the chips and the sodas, and we loved trying them. And so they sent us one, and then we reached out to the company because we're like, this is really good. Let's see if they'll send us some, like, to promote their product. And they did. So it was crazy how it worked out. But it was definitely just a lot of like, we'll send an email, and if they say, like, the worst they can do is say no.
That's pretty, that was the most unique thing I've seen on like a band endorsement so far. I was like, what, party tree? What the hell? What are these?
They would send us a box like once a month, and we would open it up.
Magdalene Rose is her name, and it's going to be a big one in the future. So keep an eye on this career. This is going to be awesome, man. A Bad Residential is a song. Spencer Chamberlain is featured, and let's spin it. What do you say, Maggie?
Let's do it.
Okay. A Bad Residential, Magdalene Rose, Spencer Chamberlain. It's right here, right now on Real Rock Nights.
Click for the latest video right here, right now. And don't forget to like and subscribe.